Hey guys, it's Jack here today, and today I'm going to be doing a video on some rock and metal bands that I enjoy that started off their careers really, really strong in my opinion, but have slowly kind of faded into not one of my favorites. Some of these I think have became totally more or less awful like over the years, and some I think have just changed direction in style and it's not quite bonded with me. Does that make sense? But I still respect. So some of these bands I'm just going to completely bash and be like, you've done some trash since, you know what I mean? What happened? But then some of the other bands, I am going to say I respect them. They're just not my thing anymore. So it's a mixture of both. Um, they're going to be all rock and metal bands, different styles. I do have one punk rock band in here and one progressive rock band, and the rest are all hard rock, heavy metal, rock, hard rock, heavy metal. So, starting off with In This Moment. Now, this is a band, I loved their debut record, Beautiful Tragedy. I really liked Star-Crossed Wasteland and Blood. And honestly, a lot of their other stuff I feel has been like since then has been very, very. I don't know. There's been a couple of really good tracks on like Black Widow and Ritual. Those ones were respectable enough releases, but like there's been something missing for years. They still drop the odd good track, but they've not been the same for a long time. And I always listen to their new albums when they come out, but I miss the old In This Moment, honestly. They've done a couple of good songs on the last few albums, but I miss the old In This Moment, honestly, to be honest. Ritual was probably their last decent release. The last two have been very, very mediocre, to tell you the truth. And I say I've re-listened to like the first four recently, and they're still all really good releases, particularly Beautiful Tragedy, A Star-Crossed Wasteland, and Blood. And honestly, I miss that sound that they used to have. Hopefully, they return to it on the next album because it would be good. But in this moment, I'm kind of playing it by the numbers at this point, really. And yeah, I still support them, but yeah. Next up is an old favourite of mine. Excuse me. Once in a blue moon, I go back to their earlier albums like Science and Morning View. You probably already know which band I'm talking about. Incubus. This is a band that started off as like a new metal, hard rock new metal band with albums like Science, Make Yourself, Morning View, which was slightly more alternative rock, but still had kind of like a heavier edge to it. As I say, those three records were really, really good. And then well, even, do you know what? I'll even say that the record after that was kind of okay as well. The one with Megalomania, I can't bloody remember the name of it. Crow Left of the Murder, that's the one. All of those records were really good, and then Like Grenades came out and they slowly went downhill. Honestly, Incubus used to be a fantastic group, and they've really weakened with time. Time hasn't done them well. If not now, when was not a very good release. And eight had again. It's Incubus by the numbers. Same with In This Moment. They're playing it very safe these last few records, and we need that. We need the real Incubus back. Do you know what I mean? And again, there's been a couple of good songs along the way, but nothing beats those old records. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about Incubus. Next up is Disturbed. Now, a lot of people, you know, here agree with me that Disturbed have become an absolute joke. Yeah, and I was never one of these people that hated them right from the start. Honestly, I think the first four Disturbed albums are really good. The Sickness is, even though it has some really laughable moments on it, it's a really good start to their career. And Believe, again, fairly good. 10,000 Fists was probably the best one they made, and then same with Indestructible. Like, those are their two best albums they've probably done to this point. Asylum, again, very respectable release. And then it's like Immortalized. was start of the decline. I'm not saying Immortalized is a bad record because it's actually not too bad, but that was where the decline started, and since then it's like, yeah, I'm good. So yeah, this is another band that I think really just need to stop. Again, they appeal to their fans, I guess the diehards, but even then, like they're so going under the radar on these last few records, and they just need to bloody stop. Um, Next up is one of my favourite bands of all time, and I'm ashamed that I'm saying this about them because they are one of my favourite bands ever. But I'm talking about Sepultura. These guys used to be the best, one of the best metal bands in history. Their first four releases, Morbid Visions, Schizophrenia, Beneath the Remains, and Arise, are some of the best albums ever made in metal history. Chaos AD, another very respectable release. Then the downfall started with Roots, which actually, don't get me wrong, is not a bad record at all, but it is the start of the decline, and probably the reason why they changed vocalists with Derek Green, which, there we go. That's where Sepultura dies for me, more or less. There's the odd okay song, but my goodness, there is a lot of bad stuff. The album Against, what a load of rubbish is on that album. And then just like, yeah. Machine Messiah had some okay tracks on it. I quite liked a couple off that album, and same with Quadra, the most recent one. There is the odd good track here and there with Derek Green, but my goodness, am I shocked with some of the stuff they've put out since. For me, Sepultura, in their early days, the first 5 albums, some of the best heavy metal in history, but they've not been the same since. They've not been the same since, and yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Next one is the punk rock band I was talking about, Green Day. I don't go back to much punk rock nowadays and more hard rock and metal, but Green Day did some classic stuff in their time. You know, Dookie, that's my go-to album of theirs, and even the early raw punk stuff, really good stuff. Throughout the 90s, they stayed pretty consistent, classic hits like Time of Your Life, Minority, that, you know, even the American Idiot album, I know the songs were overplayed as hell, but they still had their own style there. They didn't sell out. And then 21st Century Breakdown, still quite a respectable release, but I would definitely say it was the start of the decline. Slowly, it was a slow decline with Green Day. 21st Century Breakdown is still quite a respectable release, though. And then the 2010s has not done them too good. They did the trilogy albums, which were more or less plain out boring. Again, there was a few okay songs, but they were going more for that electronic rock, pop rock thing. Revolution Radio somewhat redeemed them, but I don't think that as much as other people do. And then Father of All and all of that stuff. Like Green Day they were a legendary band. You know, Dookie, all the 90s stuff, they were a legendary band. You know, they're one of the few mainstream rock bands that I still go back to this day from time to time. And yeah, time has not done them well, and that's all I'm going to say about that. The next one up is the progressive rock band that I was talking about, that I was going to talk about. This band is, quite frankly, one of my favourite rock bands of all time, for their earlier stuff. Again, Yes is the name of the band. One of the most well-known progressive rock bands in history. They did amazing albums like the Yes album, Fragile, Tales from Topographic Oceans, Relayer, Going for the One, Closer to the Edge. They did Close to the Edge even, sorry, I'm a bit tired. But my goodness, Yes, for those early albums, even the first two, Yes and Time and a Word, very respectable releases, enjoy them. And then Tomato was okay, Drama had some good moments on it, and it was a good album. 90125, that was a very good album. And then after that, I kind of just thought, yes, we're going a bit safe for the most part. Again, a few good tracks on Big Generator, but like, Yes has been very safe for a long time, and they still drop music to this day. I did check out the most recent one, and they play it very safe nowadays. The mystery is gone. The 70s era was the best stuff, and 90125 was a very good release as well. But as I say, Yes has played it safe for a very long time, and it's a shame because Yes used to be one of the greatest bands, I honestly, period, for me. So that's all I'm going to say. Next is Katatonia. This is a band that I used to absolutely love. You know, Dance of December Souls, Brave Murder Day, Tonight's Decision. They did some great stuff in their early days. Yeah, Viva Emptiness as well from the 2000s, and The Great Cold Distance. They've done some great stuff all throughout into the 2000s. Do you know what I mean? They've done some really good stuff. And honestly, I feel a lot of the 2010 stuff just doesn't do it for me. Honestly, like, I don't know what it is. I just don't dig their stuff anymore. And again, this is one of those bands I actually still respect. And you know what I mean? I'm not bashing them for the direction they go in. I still respect the hell out of these guys. They're legends. But Katatonia has been playing it quite safe, in my opinion, for a long time. Again, just my opinion. Next is what used to be one of the best mainstream metal bands, honestly. Avenged Sevenfold. Honestly, they used to be great. These guys used to be really good. And then they became a joke. This is why so many people hate them nowadays. Sounding the Seven Trumpet, they started off with great record, really good, really raw production on that. Waking the Fallen, really good record, really good raw production, really good like raw metalcore stuff. Do you know what I mean? City of Evil, very good mainstream metal album. Same with the self-titled, and same with Nightmare. Do you know what I mean? All good stuff. All good stuff. And then came Hail to the King. And you know what? I'm not going to hate on this album because it does have its moments. The title track, Shepherd of Fire. But admittedly, it's where the decline started. And the Stage, again, you know, a little bit better than Hail to the King, I will say. And the new album is, again, all over the place. It's not the same without the rev. And yeah, I'm just going to say that. That's all I'm going to say. Next is Machine Head. And this is a band that were quite frankly on top of the world. When they released Burn the Eyes, I mean, I wasn't alive for it, but I've heard the whole thing, and Burn My Eyes is an amazing record. Then the follow-up they had was The More Things Change, respectable record. The Burning Red, fantastic record. Really underrated that one. Supercharger, let's just not talk about Supercharger. And then they released 3 amazing records in a row, Through the Ashes of Empire, The Blackening, and then Unto the Locust. 3 amazing records in a row. And then Bloodstone and Diamonds, which is quite a respectable album as well. And then came Catharsis. And then came Catharsis. And then he started doing all this Do or Die song and all of that. And the new album, what's it called again? I can't fucking remember. Of Ghosts and of God and Ghosts. I don't fucking remember. Of God No Masters. That's the bloody name of it. Choke on the Ashes You Hate was a very promising single, and there was a couple on it that I liked, but it was definitely a step up from Catharsis. But honestly, I don't think the band's been the same since about 2011. Bloodstone and Diamonds was a fairly good one as well, but I miss that excitement that I used to get from Machine Head, honestly. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Next up is Amorphis. This is another band that I really still respect to this day, but again, like Katatonia, the stuff just has not been my cup of tea for a long time. This band, made some of the best metal in history, in my opinion. Caroline Isfis, Tales from the Thousand Lakes, which is one of my favourite albums ever put to disc. Then Elegy, which is another amazing record. Tuanola, how do you pronounce it? Tuanola, another very good album. Am Universum, pretty good record. And the first part of the 2000 stuff's really good. And I just kind of fell off. Like, the later into the 2000s period they got, I just started to fall off. And they just weren't really my kind of band anymore. Same with Catatonia. They went, like, too mellow for their own good, in my view. But early Amorphis to me is fine. And I still respect them. I just hope one day they return to the older style. Again, Amorphis is a band that I have so much respect for. I still listen to all their stuff that comes out. I just much prefer the older sound. Same with Catatonia. So yeah, this is 10 bands that I'm still a fan of to this day, honestly. And even though the stuff isn't as good as it used to be, I still listen to all the older stuff from these bands. So thank you all for watching, and until next time, what are 10 bands that you think started off really good and then slowly didn't interest you anymore? Thank you all for watching. Until next time.